Welcome to Sunday night prep, but it's Friday and it's the afternoon. How nice is this? All right, as always, we are going to look at everything from the top down, try to gear up for the week ahead. We got a busy one. It's been a busy week, too. I mean, from the economic data that we've had to big tech earnings already, we got a slew of it next week for sure. But yeah, just a recap of last week. We had the GDP come in at 3.3% versus 2.0. Last reading was 4.9, so it was economy's very strong. We know that. Jobless claims came in a little bit of an uptick there. We also had our PCE data this morning. That came in on the mark, and it pretty much tells us that the Fed doesn't have to really do much. We have the next Fed meeting next week. Hooray. We get our first bout with Powell of the year, and it should be an interesting one. Not of what we are expecting. We already pretty much expect that the Fed is A, not going to raise rates, but B, that they're not going to cut rates either. The question is, what all is Powell going to say? Is he going to tell us anything new? Is he going to try to slow things down just a little bit? Because this market is just on a tear, but they're at a good spot here, to be honest with you. The data has been really strong, and we've seen that inflation is slowly but surely coming down. So we are possibly just getting this soft landing that they've been constantly talking about. We also had Netflix earnings blow things out of the water. Netflix was a clear winner this week, no doubt about that. Surprised everybody with their subscriber growth. That was really a big key point there with their earnings. You also had Tesla earnings this week. That was a disappointment. They also cut back on their actually, they didn't really issue any kind of guidance. So Tesla's taking a big fat smack to the chin here. And as you can see on the chart, I mean, it is in an ugly spot from a technical standpoint. You're below the key moving averages. You've lost good support here around that 193 mark. And it doesn't paint a pretty picture, to be honest with you. We also had earnings from Intel. That was a disappointment. They had a double beat, but their guidance was just stupid soft. So Intel, is it going to be a warning for the other chip makers? We'll have to see. Looking at the earnings calendar for next week, things get juicy here. We got earnings from everybody's favorite here, SoFi. I don't know, that color is yellow. I don't want that. You got earnings on SoFi Monday morning. You have earnings from SMCI Monday after the close. Whirlpool, if you're into that. And then Tuesday, this is when things really get heated up. You got earnings from Pfizer, General Motors, UPS, JetBlue, Marathon. And then look at this after the close: Microsoft, AMD, Alphabet. I mean, that's three big hitters right there in one day. So this should be on everybody's radar. Microsoft should be a pretty good one. I'm a little curious to see about Google. We know Google took a little bit of hit last time, so we'll see what they have to say and how they are doing. And then, look, Wednesday, you got Boeing, Phillips 66, MasterCard, Boston Scientific. Wednesday after close, Qualcomm. A little bit of a quiet. Qualcomm should be an interesting one. And then look, Thursday, Apple, Amazon, Meta. Three big players here coming up on Thursday. And Apple's going to be a big one for sure. We know that. Meta could be a curious one for sure. Meta's been a very big market leader for a while now, so we definitely want to pay attention to those numbers. And then Apple, we know that their headset sales have been pretty good. But yeah, their iPhone sales, they've been lackluster. We know that, as well as the iWatch situation that's been going on. And then you close out the week with some energy names such as ExxonMobil and Chevron. You got AbbVie. And SIBO. SIBO's a pretty interesting one. That's always a pretty curious one. So yeah, it's a big week for earnings coming up. So pick your poison, and not to mention, that's not all that's going on. We haven't even talked about the economic data calendar. We start out quiet, which is nice. Monday is going to be I'm not even sharing my screen. I'm so sorry, guys. Am I? Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. I'm dumb. All right, so starting out with the economic calendar, quiet start on Monday, nothing to really write home about. And then Tuesday, consumer confidence, jolts. Wednesday, you got ADP non-farm employment. Look at this. Wednesday at 2 o'clock, FOMC, big one here. Definitely got to pay attention to what Powell's going to say, how his tone is going to be, which I think it should be kind of. This one's probably going to be the I wouldn't say we're not going to have any kind of reaction off of it. I'm just saying this one's probably it's a well balanced machine right now. It is what I'm kind of feeling out of it based upon the data that we've received, and just based on what we've been getting with the market and all the data prints. So the key point is just paying attention to what Powell says. I mean, that's about all I can give you there. Thursday, jobless claims. You got the OPEC meeting. Yeah. And then Friday, unemployment rate. So there's going to be a lot of jobs data, non-farm payrolls, participation rate. A lot of juicy stuff here next week, from earnings to economic calendar. So it's really going to be, this is one of those weeks where we want to play it kind of relaxed, not so heavy. If you're taking swings, be a little bit mindful, especially when you're looking at the main indices. We know that this market has been on a rip-roaring tear. The trend is extremely bullish. Squeezes have been firing to the long side. Big trend, riding the 80 EMA. All the dips to the 21 EMA have been buyable dips. Case in point, here's the first one, here's the second one, and then you rip. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. Even if we do get some kind of dip, I'm looking to buy it. So there's no other thing to really tell me to not do otherwise. I mean, we've seen it with this market, that this market loves to shake off the negative data and focus on the good. I mean, that's all it's been to it. So no matter what, this market is just on a rip. We've looked at the put call ratio. We know it's nice and at a good level. There's no one side that's too heavy. So there's that. So SPY here, looking at the SPY levels. 490 is your psychological battleground as of right now. I don't know if y'all can see that chart. I may just need to pull up this chart here. Might look a little bit better. So yeah, here you go, SPY. I've also been finding out that when you kind of share your screen with TOS, I don't know why, but it's just a crappy looking, like even when you record, it's kind of like crappy. I don't know why. It's probably something on my end, but SPY here, 490 is your battleground. You do have a little bit of support down here, about 485. You got the dynamic 80 EMA here, which that could be a buyable dip too if you want to be aggressive, or if you just want to wait for a buyable dip to the 21 EMA as we highlighted earlier. But I mean, this trend is super bullish. I mean, this is just incredible. Moving on to, well, I guess we can take a look at everything else. Look at the signals here. Weekly, yeah, weekly squeeze fired long, up signals, trend looks positive. Bullish thrust here on the daily ever since, what was this, starting back in November. You had some buy signals here, and they've ripped faces here. I mean, this was a nice little pivot here on the indicator. So yeah, ever since then, it's just been buy it and just close your eyes and run with it. Hourly, we do have a new hourly squeeze popping up, so that could be interesting one to watch. Past few days, yeah, we've been a little bit sideways, a little bit of a headache. I'm not gonna lie. personally, my day trades the past few days haven't been spectacular. That my swings have been phenomenal. Not to toot my own horn, but the swings have been great, no doubt about that. So that's kind of what I'm focusing in on now, anyway. So we'll keep doing that, and we'll run some scans here in a minute and see what we can come up with. But yeah, Spy, you're in an hourly squeeze. You're holding up the hourly 21 EMA. Overall, looks pretty darn bullish. I don't have any divergences worth noting. Maybe we're just taking a breather here at the close on Friday, and we'll see what the next week has in store, because there is so much going on next week. No doubt about that. Let's go over to the Qs. Q. Tech heavy Qs. I mean, this thing has hit every single target imaginable. I apologize, it's a little much going on here, so let me try to clear this up. Remove drawing. So yeah, I mean, you've hit bull flag targets, you've hit this breakout target. So do we need to start looking at new targets? Maybe. Let's clear these out because they don't. You got a little bit of a target here at 433 that we can keep up. So we'll keep this one up. This would be a target from this breakout. Nice. Let's see. Ever since we had that rollover gap back in November, this thing has just been on a rip. All right. So let's see here. We're at +3 ATR on the weekly with a little bit of an indecision candle here. Definitely want to take note of that. So if we break the lows, we could get a pullback. And if we pull back, I'm looking for the 21 EMA to hold. And we'll see if some of these earnings are sell the news kind of event. But AI strong, and that's going to be the key point next week for sure. Okay, so Qs at +3 ATR on the weekly. We had this weekly squeeze, fire to the long. This is bullish. This is good. This has run a small squeeze up. You don't have any dark blue here, so if we started to see a dark blue here, that would suggest that the squeeze is over, such as this. You see how the squeeze ended here. We got into a new mini squeeze. That fired long. Got into a new little squeeze here. That fired long. So that's the scenario that we're looking at. The curious thing here about the hourly chart is that we have started to see a little bit of shift here on the hourly time frame. You see how prices slowly going downhill just a little bit, maybe retesting this level at 422.25. We can see that the hourly scenario here has shifted a little bit of a bearish momentum here, but the oscillator is still bullish. This is still bullish. We don't have a sell signal just yet on this. If we start to break down below 421.30, that would give you a breakdown of the hourly 50 simple moving average, and that would open the door to retest the 200. So we want to be aware of that. So that's going to be my key spot here, 421.30. If we start to lose that, look out below. And then if we do start to lose that, I'm looking for a move back down to the 21 EMA, maybe even to the prior lifetime high, which would put you back around that 413 to 415 zone. So, and this will slowly come up too. So 415 all the way down to 410, that's the zone. And then of course, if we continue to break out 433 to the upside, and then we'll make new levels from there. Let's go now to the IWM, the laggard here of everyone, more sensitive to the yields and to the rates. We know yields have been hanging out around the 4.2, 4.15 mark. So, and let's see, let me pull those up. Let me see what the rates are at now. Close my other stuff. So gotta take a quick look. Yeah, rates are up today, 4.16 now. Rates haven't really moved for a while, but as you can see, IWM, they've also not really moved. It's been an interesting week with small caps. You've had typically you get these big moves in the morning session, gap up, and then you just fade it. Gap up, you fade it. Look, gap up, you fade it. Gap up, you fade it. You fade it. You fade it. You fade it. I mean, that's what been the story for 1, 2, 3, 4 days now. They just can't seem to pick up any steam. But you know, you're in this tight. I would say this is just a mini Darvis box here. So we'll clear this up and draw some new levels on the IWM. But let's see. Let's go here. 194. And what is this? 198.60. So we're trying to break out of that. I'm going to get rid of this level so you can see that a little bit better. And that way we can highlight it here. There you go. There's your IWM chart. Looks pretty good to me. So we need to break out above. So for the IWM, you're in this Darvis box. If you break out above 198.60, that's going to give you about a 4.5 point move. If you break below 194.10, then I'm looking for a move back down to the 50 simple moving average. You had this nice little wedge breakout, but ever since then, you haven't really materialized into much. And the IWM, it gaps up and then fades, gaps up and fades, gap up and fades. So really sensitive to the rates. So keep an eye on the IWM for next week in case we get into any sort of rotation out of big tech. But usually if big tech's going to take a hit, IWM usually kind of goes with it. So we'll see, of course, but that's what we're looking at as far as the IWM.
Hey, Fuzz.
Hey.
You have a serious echo.
I do?
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. How's that? Did that do anything? Let me see. Let me see. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. What do I think about SoFi calls? There is an echo. That's weird. All right. I could probably update my firmware, but that'll be. Wonder where my echo would come from. Hold on. Do. Hello. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. I have no idea. Same, just mute the stream that shows the screen. That's weird. There shouldn't be. I don't have any other microphone connected. Let me see. Let me hang up and come back.
Go if you just right click on the stream that you're watching and click mute, it will get rid of that echo.
That's weird. Yeah, I haven't heard anything on my end, so.
So you're good. Continue on.
Is my screen? That's weird. I haven't changed anything. Okay, weird. Bum. Okay, well, as long as y'all got it. What do I think about SoFi calls? I think SoFi is from a technical standpoint, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole, to be honest with you. It's back into the prior range between 850 and 430. It's very sideways. We did have a nice little move all the way up to the $10 mark. And since then, it's petered out. You got earnings coming up. I don't really play earnings too much anymore. I used to dabble in earnings, but I kind of just stopped. It just doesn't seem fun for me. Even though we had some great wins, we really did, but it just wasn't fun for me, so I stopped doing that. Yeah, it's very sideways. I don't really see anything reasonable here unless you just want to get chopped up. I personally do not understand the hype around SoFi. For now, I think it's like, I don't know. You see those little company logos and they put a clown hat. That's how I feel about SoFi. I think it's a clown company. So I don't have too much love for it, and the chart is very ugly. So I'm not going to recommend calls. You can do your due diligence on that. I know you got the student loan repayments firing up and all that good jazz and whatever else they got going on. I don't care too much for them. I really don't. I don't understand where the hype is at for this company. There's way better fintech names out there and financial names that are so much better than SoFi. They're trying to, I guess, change the game a little bit, but it's just not showing it now. I mean, you got sell signals across the board here on the weekly, daily, even the hourly, and the daily chart is just too sloppy for me to be involved in. A lot of echo. That's so crazy. But I'm glad y'all figured it out. Just reading chat there. All right. Let's see. We left off at IWM. Let's see. Let's go to the TNX. Let's look at the rates. Rates, they're stable. Nothing too crazy going on here, but they are hanging out above the 4% mark. So I would like to see this flop back down below 4, and especially below the daily 200 simple moving average. And I've already drawn fibs here. If it gets above 4.2, 4.5, then I'm probably a little bit more nervous about the uptick in inflation and maybe where things are going, especially as we mosey on through. But everything seems to be pretty clear. Crude oil is probably one of the most interesting charts I've been looking at over the past few days. Crude oil's been catching a little bit of a bid here, and as you can see, you got a little bit of a higher low, and you're trying to break out of this daily 200 above 78. If crude oil gets above 78, excuse me, let me re-elaborate here. There you go. Higher low. You got this nice little pattern. I believe this is one of Aze's favorite patterns. I don't know if he's in here or not, but once you get above 78, that looks pretty darn bullish to me. You got a daily squeeze here. All you need is an up signal. I know y'all don't have this, but that's what I would be looking at. Yeah, if it gets above 78, I would be curious. We do have some energy names that are reporting earnings, so we can keep an eye on those guys. But yeah, crude oil looking pretty good. MPC breaking out into lifetime highs here. If it wasn't for earnings on the 30th, what day is that? Tuesday, I would be looking at a swing trade on this. If you want to risk it there, but you got to squeeze right up at lifetime highs. If earnings was like 2 weeks away or a month away, I would definitely be looking at a swing on this, but I hate that earnings is right here. Otherwise, this would be a sweet looking chart. You got PSX also trying to break out into lifetime. Actually, it is breaking out into lifetime highs. We played this a few weeks ago, but yeah, you got earnings coming up on the 31st, so on Wednesday. So I can't really bite on this one either. So we probably have to shop around for some other energy names that have either already reported or they got earnings a little bit further down the road. But these guys, they are already breaking out. We talked about Oxy in the pre-market session. We know this is, Warren Buffett's like current love child. If you look here on the weekly chart, here's your big range Darvis box here between 55 and 68. So far, you're holding this bottom line. This is a nice little dip buyable zone here to work with. Maybe a little bit of a double bottom, triple bottom, quad bottom, however you want to look at it. But either way, you're just kind of stuck. But you're at the lower end of this range here. You're trading at about 58 and a quarter. So if you nibbled here, you're only risking what, $3 trying to make 67. So you're not trying to make 67, you're trying to make like $9. Not a bad risk to reward there. If it wants to break out, you don't have earnings until February, so you got a few more weeks there for Oxy. All right, let's see. So that's crude oil, nat gas. And nat gas hasn't had too much love. It's been a fun one. The Widowmaker. Nothing to really look at here as far as nat gas. VIX, there's absolutely no fear in this market. It's just hanging out at the lows, hanging out at support. So maybe if we do get an earnings craze, where things just kind of sell off on the earnings news, this could pop off. But I'm only going to be concerned about this VIX if the daily squeeze starts to fire off, we get a new up signal here, and if we get a break above 15. If we get above 15, look out, because then things are getting hairy for sure. And then that's when we can start looking at some puts, more puts than usual, because honestly playing puts hasn't really been working. And that's like day trades too. I know you can like do some quick hits and quick scalps, but man, it's just been tough to be a bear out there. It's just swing longs have just been killing it. Even just longs on the intraday, as we've been seeing all the dips, quick dips just keep getting bought back up. I mean, that's how aggressive this market has been on the long side. It's just an incredible different story that we've been having lately compared to last year. All right, so there's the VIX. We looked at the IWM, the Dow. There's not really much to really look at the Dow. All-time highs on the Dow, and that's just been the story all this week. Lifetime highs, and you could get some targets. I need to clear out all these lines, so let me clear the drawing set. Boom, go away. And let me draw some fib extension here, because this is one section I don't really have targets. Okay, so 384.30 will be my first target on the Dow to the upside. If you start to lose the daily 21 EMA at about 376, that's when things can get a little bit hairy. But as long as you hold this 21 EMA, you are good to go. Got a nice little daily squeeze. Could rotate out of some tech into some Dow names. That could be fun. Let's see. And then we can look at some sectors here. We all know that, let's see, let's just go over them. XLB, this is kind of a neutral spot here. The builders sector, you're kind of stuck between 85, we'll say 86 and 75. Just no movement here as of yet. We haven't broken out on the XLB. So until we do, we're just kind of hanging out. Communication sector, bullish. Obviously, you got Meta, Google ramping up. Financials look great. Just keep it a nice little breakout at 38. Plus 3 ATR, so sure, a little bit extended, but this daily chart looks great. You even got a new daily squeeze firing long here. Trend is bullish. The buy signals are bullish. Hourly looks fantastic, so financials are looking pretty darn snazzy. Energy is just kind of interesting. I wouldn't say it's bullish or bearish. It's just kind of in this neutral in-between spot. So yeah, the hourly is looking pretty good. But yeah, like I said, you got earnings coming up on some of those big players. XAF, industrials. This looks pretty darn good to me. Industrials, we'll take a look at those guys here in a little bit. If industrials break out, what is that, 117? So we'll keep an eye on some industrials. We'll probably pull up those. Let me write this down so I'm not forgetting. XLI, XLF, energy. Probably don't really care too much about energy right now, to be honest with you. HIJK, tech, we know has been good, but you got a lot of tech earnings next week. Microsoft, AMD, Amazon. Let's see, XLU. Just kind of going through them. XLU, yeah, this is boring. This is a sector I would ignore. XLV, healthcare. Healthcare is an interesting one. Yeah, healthcare, not too bad. So we'll take a look at some of these healthcare names in a minute. XLV, XLY. XLY, this contains Amazon and Tesla. Tesla's already been clapped. So you got Amazon earnings this week, and it's definitely not the greatest sector out there by any means. XLP, consumer staples. Consumer staples, this one's at an interesting spot if we rotate into defensives. And speaking of that, this would include Pepsi, so I got to keep an eye on that. So 73 is your breakout level on the XLP. These are your consumer staple names like Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, you name it. It's only a 2-point move here that you're looking at, but this could also be a possible longer term bull flag, and you're hanging out at the daily 200. You got a daily squeeze here on the XLP. So yeah, we'll hunt down some consumer staples just in case if things get a little bit spicy and they want to rotate into safety names. Yeah, let me go ahead and take a peek at Pepsi in case I do need to do something here. It is utterly close. Okay, so I don't want to see a daily close above that blue line. That would put you above the daily 200 and the hourly. Yeah, we might have to close that by the end of the day. We got about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, so I'll revisit this in about 20 minutes. Let me write that down so I don't forget, since I'm not really looking at any of my positions right now. Swing these nuts. Okay. All right, so there's that. XLP, yeah, we'll have to look at some there. I think that kind of does it. All the main ones, at least. Semiconductors, lifetime highs, no question about that. AMD, NVIDIA, Intel Core is your naughty boy that hasn't really joined the club as far as that goes. Okay, so let's run some scans. If you have any ticker requests, feel free to shout them out. We'll take a look at Bitcoin here. Bitcoin just kind of hanging around that 40K mark. Dipped below it just briefly ever since they had the ETF news. It's been sell that news event. So, but you come back down to 40K. When it lost 40K, I was like, but she's managed to reclaim 40K. And as you can see, you got a nice little yellow bar here on the daily squeeze. So we could be seeing a new shift in the momentum. Also have an up arrow here on the daily. Crypto, Bitcoin could start to get back to interesting. 45,000 would be my next key spot here, and then 50 for that. So 45K next, followed by 50K. Your hourly, you had a nice little hourly squeeze here that actually ended up firing long during the overnight session. Would like for it to settle down and then move. So Bitcoin could be a little interesting over the weekend. I know Coinbase at one point was up about 3%. So let's go take a peek at that. Coinbase. All right, still looks like poo. Let's go to Mara. Pretty little bamba. Mara, not bad. Probably not the most exciting thing out there. Riot. And then, okay, so I don't really care too much. Maybe just buy Bitcoin straight up. Bitcoin looks a whole lot better. I guess you could do MSTR because MSTR is Bitcoin on a balance sheet. You can take a look at ARC-B too. Don't have much data here, of course, because it's a brand new IPO. Also, brand new ETF, not IPO. Yeah, you need to get above 43. We'll call it 43. If you get above 43, that's a little bit better. Nice little hammer candle on the weekly to start things off. All right, let's run some scans, and then we'll take a look at any tickers that y'all want to look at. I'm not really expecting too much on the scans, to be honest with you. JP Morgan is popping up, which I know that because we're in that position. This still looks good. Bullish squeeze. Trend looks great. Hourly looks good. So I'm not ready to do anything with JP Morgan just yet. TMO, Thermo Fisher Scientific. Let's see, you got earnings next week, though, so I don't really want to do anything there. Although we could be watching out for a breakout above 560. That looks pretty good. Let's go over to T-Mobile. T-Mobile had their earnings. Not too bad. I'll have to go. I didn't really look at their earnings report too much. You got a daily squeeze. I need to see it break above 165, though. You're hanging out at +3 ATR on the weekly, but what isn't? Everything's a little bit heated. And then I don't want to see it break below 160. So you're about a 5-point mini Darvis box. If you lose 160, yeah, you're looking at 155. And then, of course, if you break 165, 166, you're looking at about 170, 171 there on T-Mobile. I know Verizon had a pretty spectacular earnings report. They had a lot of new subscriptions, and they attribute it to the My Plan, which I don't know why they come up with these silly names, but it's My Plan. Okay. Verizon is not the most exciting name in the world. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Verizon moves like a snail. If you want to play Verizon, do shares or buy longer, much longer dated contracts. How do I feel about Tesla calls? Yeah, Tesla. I get it. It's oversold. Especially when you're looking at the RSI. I mean, this thing is just absolutely beat up, but I would still give it a few more days to see if bulls can catch a bounce. But at that point, all I see is if it's a bounce, then it's just an oversold bounce. So it'll be a dead cat bounce. And then my question on Tesla would be, do you reject here at the 193 mark? Because this was prior support anyway, and this was a breakout level. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Tesla calls, especially, I think he disappointed. I think Musk disappointed a lot of people. They didn't make any new announcements, and they pulled away guidance. So, and we know the EV market has been kind of bleh, and competition has been heating up anyway. So, and they've been lowering costs. So, as I don't see a reason just yet to try to swing long calls. The only reason that you could have is that this RSI is like super oversold, and things have gotten a little ugly here for Tesla, but that doesn't really give me, it's not a good reason to be trying to swing calls unless you want to gamble on something further dated and out of the money. Maybe you'll catch a dead cat bounce, but that is still very risky. I mean, if you start to lose the post earnings low, then yeah, I'm still looking for an overall target of about 150. Yeah, if you're looking into March out of the money and you have some fun money to maybe gamble with, I'll leave that up to you. But I don't really see much here on the charts to be bullish. You got maybe some support here on the hourly at 180. If you lose 180, it's a little bit bearish. I don't have any new signals on the thrust, so no bullish signals here just yet. This is an extreme bearish reading. This is very aggressive. Yeah, I need more than just what it's doing right now to do it. But yeah, as far as Tesla goes, I'm overly bearish at this point on Tesla. In fact, I wouldn't mind getting into a swing put trade on Tesla, but I want to be a little bit patient for maybe a dead cat bounce. So that's where I'm at. And if I'm going to swing bear puts on Tesla, then I'll probably do a spread. Yeah, spread seems pretty good for me. Yeah, I don't like out of the money contracts. So if I'm going to do something funky with Tesla, I'll probably do out of the money. All right, let's see. Going back to, I know we had earnings from home builders, DHI. They're taking it a little bit on the chin here. Yeah, if we lose, what is this, 138, that could be fun. DHI. Let's keep an eye on you. Possible bear flag there on DHI. You got a shift here on the histogram. You also got a squeeze here on the hourly. In fact, let me go ahead. Maybe I want to poke around. I haven't played DHI in a while. You got any good contracts? You got some good OI in the 140 puts. Okay. 140 Ps for February. I don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. So we'll keep an eye on those. And I want to see a breakdown below 138.83. We could probably go ahead and take it. It's a little bit speculative at this point, but that is definitely an idea. DHI 140 puts for February. All right, CSX is on the scan. LPC is on the scan. Ooh, CSX, hello. Now this is a slow mover. NP, this is your lover. I don't know if he's in here. I like this breakout. You got a daily squeeze off of a tight Darvis box, a 1 point Darvis box. So we're looking at about 36. 35 call for February is about 90 cents. About March. Let me go out. I want you to take me out. Dun, 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 dun. So a 35 call for March is $1.20. Or do we do something deeper in the money? February 35s could be fine. I like that. CSX February 90 calls. They're definitely not $90. 35 call. All right, so we got some options already. Nice for some swings. Let me look at some of these other railroads though. UNP, Union Pacific, they're holding on. You got earnings out of the way. Norfolk Southern, NSC. Do you look the same? Yeah, you can't seem to break out above 239. I would like to see 239. This would be an interesting dip buy. Daily 50. You got earnings out of the way. 287 versus 289 versus 283. So a slight beat there on earnings for NSC. Okay, so NSC is interesting. Let's go to, let me run a few more. MPC, we know MPC has earnings next week, so I can't really do anything there. Colgate Palmolive, that's a nice breakout on earnings. Definitely a boring name. Interestingly enough, you don't have a lot of the high beta names. General Motors has earnings coming up next week also. You're in this Darvis box between 36.85 and 34.55. Can't do much there, although it's a nice setup. Very clean, easy to deal with. Match.com. Match.com for all that. You got earnings coming up. That's unfortunate. You got a squeeze right here at the daily 200. This is something I would be tempted to take on because you can use that as a catapult, but that's a problem. I love this squeeze. I love this new buy signal. You got the crossover already. Man, that looks fun. If only this was not there. If that was not there, why did I turn British? Okay. Let's keep going. All right. All right, let's see. That's all of that scan really that I care to run. So let me see what this may bring me. Like I said, if y'all have any ticker requests, feel free to shout them out. Caterpillar. Lifetime highs. It's got earnings. Dang it. That was a nice breakout yesterday. Inside day today. Unfortunate. General Electric, powerhouse name. Boo doo 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 doo. You got earnings out of the way. They are chopping up the big company again. That is a beast. I don't think I want to get into it just at the moment. I like CSX though. T-Mobile, we already looked at T-Mobile. Team Aflac has earnings next week. Okay. PRU. Okay. Prudential Financial. How prudent of them to call themselves Prudential. Earnings on February 6th. Nope. Too close to me. All right. Let's see what all these big boys are up to. Apple earnings next week. Unable to get to lifetime highs. I did take a lotto on that. That's going to disappear worthless, so that's nice. Okay. So Apple not quite lifetime highs. Looks like you're hanging on by a thread here. I'm glad I bought back those SPX put credit spreads because that was nice. That was a nice win to close out the day, close out the week. Apple, Microsoft, lifetime highs, hitting our overall target of 405.70 earnings next week. Very bullish. Be curious to see what that comes up. Tesla, Amazon has earnings next week. Nothing too crazy there. All right, so I said let's look at some of the industrial holdings. So let me pull that up. We'll take a look at the Dow holdings too. You got Goldman. I don't really want to grab Goldman if I have JP Morgan. You got Home Depot. Home Depot. And if we're going to look at Home Depot, we might as well look at Lowe's. This is not a bad chart. It's not a bad spot to maybe nibble on something here. We'll see if there's anything better, though. We'll write down Home Depot just for keepsake. Lowe's. Nope. Lowe's is not it. In fact, Lowe's looks like a short. You got a down arrow here, cross down, losing this little mini level of support, 210. Lowe's down. Okay, keep an eye on that for next week. Puts below 210.40 on that, or just 210. Lose 210. We're coming down to 206-ish, 205. Yeah, look at that. Good clean levels there. You need to break out above 220 to really get going back to the upside. So you got a nice little box here for Lowe's. All right. McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Lifetime highs. Couldn't handle the heat. Had to get out of the kitchen. Look at that. Lifetime highs. Rejection. That is ugly. So we're not going to touch McDonald's. CRM. Salesforce. This thing has been a beast. Crowd again. Yeah. Jesus. Snowflake. Here, Snowflake. I always think about Ace Ventura. Oof. 202. You don't want it to close back in this range because that could get a little ugly. Weekly squeeze. Yeah, not a big fan of the weekly candle there. All right, so we've already looked at some of the industrials. General Electric, Caterpillar, UNP, Uber, believe it or not, is in the XLI. Uber seems a little extended to me. Okay. Let's check out some of these healthcare holdings. LLY, Lilly. Man, this chart looks great. Okay. Lilly. Let's see here. Maybe we can do a debit spread on Lilly. 350. I got to take a look at Pepsi. And it better be good news, dang it. Peps, not XLY. Lily. And those are pricey. Yeah, we would have to debit spread these. Let me vertical this, see what this costs. What's a 10 wide going for? 10 wide, deep and wide. What? I'm okay with that. Hold on. 640, 650. How many people? We got a lot of people in that 650. 645. Okay. That could be fun. 640, 645 debit spread for LLY. Better make some decisions if we want to swing something over the weekend. When are their earnings? February 6th. Okay. Let me put a bid here. What do I do? I want to go out of the money. 645, 650. What is that going for? Kind of spready, but I don't mind that. 645, 650 bull call debit spread for next week on Lily. All we need is a good little up thrust here, back up into the highs. This thing's been an absolute beast. Look at that weekly squeeze just firing out. All right, let me get this order going. Might just slap the, let's here, 190. Let's see, let me pull that up. Deep and wide, deep and wide. And then I need to check in on Pepsi. So I don't mind doing a debit spread over the weekend. Okay, so Pepsi's came dangerously close to 168, but we're still in it. Lily, let me see here. Next week's 645, 650, 190. Okay, cool. LLY, bull, call, debit, spread, swing. This is for two. Buy the 645 call. Sell the 650 call. Debit of 190. All right. That's 50. All right. Let me see. Okay, so Pepsi, let me go visit Pepsi real quick. Any ticker requests real quick before the bell closes? Shopify, sorry. Shop. Not SHP, shop. Shopee shop. Shopify. Okay, this looks fine. Weekly looks good. You got earnings coming up in about 2 weeks. Earnings in 2 weeks. You need to break out above 83.19. Let's see if we can get rid of those. Really, we can get rid. Oh, that's the prior breakout, so we'll leave that alone. And let's see. Let me leave that out. All right, so 83. You're looking at a 90. You're looking at 90, and then 100 will be a big spot for shop. You got starting to enter into a new squeeze. So for Shopify, I like this as a breakout trade above 83.20. That looks pretty good. That'll be on our watch list next week, I do believe. I'll write that down. Let's go back to some of these other Guild. Yeah, Geo. It would be speculative right now to try to play that because we don't know if it's going to break out or not. Kind of like how I'm doing with Pep, but um, if you wanted to speculate on something, then it's not a bad idea. But I would keep it small for now until you break out. If you break out, then you get in heavy. Guild. You got earnings 2 weeks. And Guild, yeah, you're holding the daily 200. You need to break above 80 for a move to at least 82. It's not the most exciting thing out there. I mean, it's had a good run. But as of right now, I would want to see a little bit more. I don't know what happened here. I'm guessing they got hit with some sort of news. I remember hearing something. What did they get hit with? Cancer drug fail. That's right. Yeah. Okay. I know that they're going to try to see what else they can use that drug for, or if there needs to be like a certain stage and all that kind of good stuff. So they're not giving up on that particular drug just yet. So maybe there is some hope that the catalyst is still there, but that initial rug pull was a little bit nasty. I would probably just wait and see. But if you do get a breakout above 80, 75, it could get interesting because then you'll be in that gap world. So could be something to keep an eye on. But if you start to lose this daily 200, you might want to look out below because then your next spot is going to be around that 74, 75 support level on GLD. It's a drug failure. All right, so we all know what the drill is. Did Duke send out his swings for the weekend? He bought Caterpillar. I hate you. We just looked at Caterpillar. Yeah, it's a good one. I don't mind it at all. I like it. It's one of those names that it can definitely go, especially at this point because you're retesting that lifetime high breakout, and if she pops, it's gonna be pretty sweet. So, Cat he bought next week's 305. I like it. If it was me and I was getting into a swing trade, I just wish I had a little bit more time for me. That's just my taste. There's, we always, of course, have differences in our styles. So, but I do like the setup, no doubt about that. All right, SPY, Qs, everything's bullish except the IWM. Industrials, financials, healthcare, consumer staples we need to keep an eye on. Pepsi is being a thorn in my butt, so I'm not going to close it just yet, just because we don't have a daily close above 168. But Monday might be the hammer in the nail there. So we'll see what happens. We put on Lily. I like that as a swing trade. I don't mind Home Depot, Lowe's, DHI as a possible put play if things break down. CSX, yeah, this looks pretty sweet. It's cheap too. I'm gonna throw that out there too, and then we should be good. CSX 35 call for February 16th. That gives us 21 days. They're going for about 85, 90 cents. So let me put a bid out. Yeah, I'll grab 10. Okay. Let me put that order out. CSX 216, and this might be one too that we need to roll, and just in case. 090 swing. All right. So our target on CSX is going to be 35.69 to 36. So we'll see. All right. Everybody good? A lot to deal with next week. Earnings. There's your earnings calendar yet again. Starting things off, SMCI Monday after the bell. Tuesday, things heat up quite a bit, both pre-market and post-market. Wednesday, we take it a little bit easier. But you got earnings from Boeing and Qualcomm. Thursday, Apple, Amazon, Meta. We got a lot of economic data as well. Lots of jobs data, ADP, Chicago PMI, jobless claims, OPEC, FOMC next week. Not expecting any kind of rate hike going into this meeting. Let that load up. There you go. Current range is 525 to 550. Nearly everyone and their mama believes that nothing's going to happen. I'm in the same boat. If you look at March, which is the big question, is a coin toss, keeping it steady or lowering it. I'm in the boat that we are going to keep it the same. May and June is when it gets a little bit more interesting as well. Expecting rate cuts in June. We'll see what happens. But yeah, big week. Be sure you're on your toes for sure as we progress forward through the earnings calendar and this economic data set that we have coming up next week. Market's overall bullish. No doubt about that. Granted, we are a little extended, but there's a few interesting signals out there. If the VIX gets going above 15, look out, which as of right now, it's just been kind of muted. Rates have been just kind of steady. They're not breaking down. They're not breaking up either. They seem to be comfortable. Crude oil is probably, I don't think it's the canary in the coal mine just yet, but it is something to keep an eye on. Yeah, crude oil is getting a little bit of a notch up, and it did close above the daily 200. So we definitely want to keep an eye on crude oil in the coming days or so, because that is a big player for inflation data. All right. Have a good weekend. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or if you need me to look over something, just send it to me, DM me, whatever you need to do. All right. I appreciate y'all coming out. This will be uploaded in just a little bit, and then we'll carry on from there. Have a great weekend. I appreciate y'all, and I will see you guys Monday. Take care.